So a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of the series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week, based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week, we got to watch some pretty big matchups go down, the standings have continued to take shape over time, and some interesting developments have unfolded, so we definitely have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Jordy, and he says that LeBron James is no longer a top 10 player in the NBA, and that he's finally starting to fall off a cliff. I don't need to brush you all up on the incredible nature of LeBron James' longevity, because we're all well aware of how insane it is that he's still playing at this high of a level as he's about to turn 40 years old later this month. His dominance spans 3 different decades, and we've all been lucky to be able to witness the kind of greatness for as long as we have. But the reason why a take like this is coming about is because LeBron is currently having a stretch where he's starting to look a little bit more pedestrian than usual, and the Lakers, as a result of it, are on a bit of a skid. After winning 6 games in a row and moving their way into the top 4 of the Western Conference standings, the Lakers have now lost 4 of their last 5 games, and LeBron himself has scored fewer than 20 points in 4 games in a row. He's struggling to create separation, his first step is just nowhere near what it once was, he's obviously way less explosive at this age, and ultimately, 21 years in the NBA is probably starting to catch up with him a bit. Plus, while he has been scoring pretty efficiently on the season as a whole, he's shooting just 42% from the field and 17% from 3 during this 4-game stretch of scoring woes, so there is some sort of decline happening. With all of that being said though, people I think are definitely putting way too much weight into this small sample size, because overall he's having a very solid year, just in a different way. Funnily enough, as he ages, he's starting to regress into more of a Magic Johnson type of role as a player, which is still a really damn good player, and he's not getting enough credit in this regard. LeBron is dishing out 9 assists per game this year, which ranks 3rd in the NBA, and he's dished out 10 or more assists in over half of the games that he's played. He's essentially become the team's full-time point guard, initiating the offense and embracing a full-time creator role, so while he may not be the elite scoring force he once was, we're not going to pretend that he's not finding other ways to be effective. Is he still a top 10 player? That's pretty tough with all of the rising stars starting to hit their primes, producing at an elite level around the league, so he very well may not be anymore, but that doesn't mean that he's completely washed up, nor should we be counting him out yet. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Singh, and he says that the Cavaliers are still one piece away from being taken serious as contenders in the East. The Cavaliers' emergence has seemingly come out of nowhere in the eyes of many, myself included, because they returned essentially the same exact team from last year, yet are now playing out of their minds as they sit in first place in the Eastern Conference standings. It's hard for people to fully grasp the capability of a team to improve internally if they don't change things up with their roster or rotation, but even though I definitely didn't see this level of success coming from them before the year, I do disagree with the original take at hand. The Cavaliers have had the talent to make noise in the East for 3 years now. They just haven't been able to do it because it took a while to get everyone on the same page chemistry-wise, and for everyone to fully embrace the new roles that they found themselves in. Prior to Donovan Mitchell being brought in, Darius Garland was an all-star point guard, viewed as one of the league's bright, rising young stars, and then, after Mitchell's arrival, he had to navigate when he would be able to run the show, and when he would have to defer to a guy like Mitchell, who was already an established star in the NBA, now in the same backcourt with him. Talent on paper is great, but figuring out how to play together isn't always as easy as it seems. Garland went through some struggles with confidence over the last 2 years, and it was noticeable, especially in last year's playoffs. But now, Garland is back playing at an all-star level, comfortably bouncing off of Mitchell and playing his game freely, and I truly believe that a confident Darius Garland is the key to this team elevating themselves to that contender tier. Otherwise, they have the elite defense, Evan Mobley is even taking some strides of his own as a scorer in the front court, their bench unit is as good as any other bench unit in the NBA, with Ty Jerome emerging as a legitimate 6th Man of the Year candidate, Jarrett Allen remains a steady interior presence, protecting the rim and finishing efficiently around the basket, and Donovan Mitchell is allowing Garland to play his game while still being the assassin scorer that he's always been when the time calls for it. They're also a top 3 offense in the NBA right now, clicking on all cylinders, so I could not disagree more with the idea that they need to try to desperately find another big piece, which would then mean that they would have to sacrifice one of their current pieces in order to acquire one. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from DeMar, and he says that the Knicks trading for Mikal Bridges was a mistake. Trade values in the NBA have been heavily inflated for years now, and this offseason we saw things reach new ridiculous heights when the deal sending Mikal Bridges from the Nets to the Knicks went down. The Nova Knicks storyline went crazy amongst the fans, and the Knicks fully bought into it by showing that they would do whatever it takes to reunite the former Villanova teammates by paying whatever price the Nets asked for. But in hindsight, this trade has a chance to go down as a warning sign for other GMs to learn how not to conduct business in the trade market. The Knicks traded 5 first-round picks and a first-round pick swap for Bridges, which sounds like the kind of value a bona fide all-star would demand. Mikal Bridges has been an outstanding perimeter defender, he's had moments where he's been able to score at a pretty solid clip, and overall has been efficient in his role. But ultimately, he's only ever been a great role player, not a star like that. Yet the Knicks gave up a king's ransom for him as if he was that kind of star player. Bridges is averaging about 15 points, shooting an average 46% from the field and 30% from 3. For his career, he's always been a better shooter than this, so I do expect him to get back closer to his career marks as the year progresses, but even if he does that, it won't make him worth the value that he was traded for. Coming into the season, the Knicks were expected to be doing what the Cavaliers are actually doing right now, being labeled as a dominant breakout contender in the making. Instead, they find themselves slightly above 500, sitting behind the Orlando Magic in the standings, which is still good, but well below what was expected of them. Karl Anthony Towns has been phenomenal on offense as a boost to the team, Jalen Brunson is still balling out, but Bridges' struggles do make you wonder if the Knicks regret overpaying as much as they did. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.